how do you tell the story of your A/B test in an engaging way? How do you make it stick and keep the attention of whoever is listening, stakeholders, your manager, C-suite, or maybe you just want to talk a great story about your A/B test to your team at a stand-up? Do you start with the results, with the hypothesis, or with the challenges you faced? As a writer of 2 novels and countless short stories, next to being in experimentation, I realized quite quickly that every A/B test has a perfect storyline that you can actually use. Of course, there are many ways to talk about an A/B test, but if you want to have one that works, keep on watching. Stories often have a common structure, especially when looking at Hollywood movies. The most simple formula for any story is that it contains a hero, a goal, and an obstacle. Let's think about a Disney movie, The Lion King. So Simba is the little lion, and the goal is that he wants to be king. The obstacle in his story, the biggest obstacle, is his uncle that also wants to become a king. So this is the base of this story. Of course, there's much more to it, and we will elaborate from here as well. I also have to apologize a bit here, because once you know this and once you start learning about plot and stuff, you will start seeing that in many movies, so it might spoil it a bit for you. So sorry about that. But anyway, you're gonna use this to your advantage, because now you're gonna fill in this plot formula for yourself. So let's think about these 3 elements. The hero in your story is you or your team maybe. And the goal is probably that you want to improve something. Maybe because of research, company goals, curiosity, etc. Now, what creates tension in your story are the obstacles. And usually a story has 1 to 3 big obstacles. Of course, there could be more in reality, but I would say please narrow it down to 3, otherwise the story gets dreading quickly. If you have less or you had none obstacles, just try to think of 1 at least. Now, you can fill these 3 things in for your story and you will have a story outline. But to make it fully engaging, you might want to develop it a little bit more. So let's look into the 3-act structure. If you want to create a little bit more of an elaborate story, we can take a look at the 3-act structure, which is often used in theater, but also in movies. And you can improve your story from the plot formula that we just used into this. So let's take a look at the elements of a story of an A/B test. You see the 3 acts here, and Act 1 starts with a setup, which is generally like a status quo, telling about the website, how you found it, what it looked like, the app, whatsoever. Then next to that is the inciting incident. So what happened that made you want to do the experiment? Did you find any research? Was there stakeholder pressure? Whatever it is, I'm not judging, but there needs to be this moment that causes the whole story to start. At the end of Act 1, this is a great place to use a cliffhanger. And the most perfect cliffhanger for your story is actually the hypothesis. Because you can phrase your hypothesis and say like, okay, we found this research, then we made this change, and we believe that this will change the behavior of visitors, and we'll measure it through, a metric. And this whole thing creates a tension because you don't really know if it's gonna work, yes or no. So that's great. That's a great cliffhanger. Then part 2, Act 2. This is usually the most meaty piece of a story. You can use up to 3 obstacles, not more. You can dramatize them a little bit if you like. You don't have to. But examples of obstacles for an A/B test can be technical issues, a long development roadmap that you had to wait for, maybe other experiments that were prioritized. Maybe there's a stakeholder that says, no, this is a no-brainer, let's just implement it while you want to test it. Or maybe, while running the test has to be stopped 1 week earlier, maybe because your development team released something that created a bug in your A/B test, something like that. But that can be what Act 2 looks like. Now, at the end of Act 2, you have the point of no return, which is basically something that says like, okay, we started this whole thing, we have gone through all the obstacles, we cannot stop anymore. And it can be, you can talk about the hours you spent or just your curiosity wanting to find this out. And there is just no way for you to stop this process now. This can be the point of no return, and emphasizing this creates a little bit of extra tension for your story. Now, Act 3 is basically wrap up and conclusion of your story. So the wrap up might be that you go back to the obstacles and how you solve them. Maybe, you know, there was still enough data to analyze the experiments and the experiment could still prove its point. And then the conclusion might be, okay, we learned, but we're still going to rerun the test. And it's also great at this point if you go back to the inciting incident. So if you repeat like, okay, we found in the UX research this insight, and the conclusion is that we did our test and now we know, you know, we learned something else. So this is actually how you can talk about the conclusion. Of course, for A/B test and strategy wise, it's also good to talk about next steps. Now, this is a very simple storyline as well. Of course, there are no jokes here. You know, if you want to have a joke at the beginning, it's nice to come back to it at the end as well, or repeat it once. Of course, there's much more things you can use, like time pressure and that kind of stuff, to create an engaging story. And I've just given you a few hints that you can use, so maybe you want to use them as a base. This 3-act structure works very well. Now, you want to do this for yourself, for your story. And in order to help you out, I created a Miro template that you can download, or not really download, you can just use it on the Miroverse. It's called A/B test storyline. And then you can fill this in for all your A/B tests. Let's go there. So you have here the Miroverse, where you can download templates. And then you have it here, use template, and then you can add it to one of your boards. And I've done this already. And what you get is like, you get this empty storyboard that you can put text in according to the things we just spoke about. And there's also, you know, this there's a duplicate here, but there is also here the example that I use that you can still take a look at. All right, that's it. I hope this helps you bring the story of your A/B test to stakeholders or people in general, whoever wants to listen. And I hope that it will help make it stick. I'm sure that you leveled up your storytelling game by now, and have fun doing it. Thanks.